Good morning, my friends. It's Kate here. Thanks so much for joining me again today. I have got a lovely, fabulous Pilates class in store for us. Now, actually, very recently, I think just yesterday, one of my students in my Facebook group brought up that she is looking for some more gentle classes to help with some anti-inflammatory things. And I haven't done enough research to fully say that this is going to be an anti-inflammatory class, but what I can tell you is I have recently been experiencing a lot of pain in my hips. I've been a little bit more sedentary the past couple of weeks, and just, life kind of gets in the way, and sometimes you have a lot of work to do seated. And because of that, my hips and my low back have been feeling a little rough in the morning. And these are some things that I like to do to help myself feel better. So perhaps for those of you that are experiencing some inflammation in our hips, in our lower body, this might be a really nice class to go with. We're probably going to start pretty gentle. We might do a little bit of strength building, and hopefully by the end you'll feel a little bit better. Now, as a reminder, you can always do as much or as little of class as you like to. Certainly not the end of the world if we get to a spot and you think, not for me today. I need to take it down a notch. That's great. But also at the same time, if you get to a spot and you're like, I want to stay here longer and hold this pose as long as I can until my inner thighs start quaking, I'm okay with that too. I'm happy if you're happy. It's also the morning time for me, so I'm still sipping my coffee. If you have a coffee nearby, you're more than welcome to drink it along with me now and then. Anyway, I do have a couple of props with me today. A blanket because my knees are feeling a little sad, and a yoga strap, which you could either use nothing. You don't have to have a yoga strap. You could instead use a belt or a towel or a TheraBand, and then I do have a TheraBand I've tied into a little loop. That's totally optional. All the things I'm going to use with it, you really absolutely don't have to have it. Just there if we're in the mood to kind of help get some more strength in our hips. Anywho, let's go ahead and meet me on the mat. Now, I like to start standing in the morning, just lifting out of my waist a little higher, starting to pull my navel in, imagining my ears lifting a little higher, and just taking a moment to notice how I'm feeling in my body. Maybe this morning you notice one side feels a little tighter. Maybe it's already kind of giving you some feedback. Like I said, my hips have been a little tight, a little sore, and often in the morning I just have kind of a dull sort of pain around the hips, and this is what I like to do to help relieve that. And let's just start waking up our body a little bit more, rolling our shoulders backwards. And when I do shoulder rolls, I try to make it the biggest, deepest shoulder roll I can possibly do, both directions. Bring it into your elbows, circle your elbows back and around. You might hear some pops. I am hearing a lot of pops in my own body, opposite way. Not sure you can pick those up on the mic. I hope not. And then take it into your entire arms. Circle your whole arms all the way around. And just like with our shoulders, take that as big as you possibly can. Let your spine move. Let your body kind of move around. We're just waking up, opposite direction, up and over. I always like to point out to people, when we're doing our yoga, our Pilates, any movement with me, it's really not about how it looks. Instead, concentrate on how you're feeling. Pause right there, and again, just notice how we feel a little different from opening up the chest. Take a big inhale. As you exhale, dip your chin to chest, bend the knees, and start to forward fold. Now, I like to do deep forward folds in the morning, but often they are a little more shallow than what I can get to at the end of the day. So if you feel a little stuck, maybe you only got halfway down to the ground, that's perfectly fine. Hands could relax on your thighs. Nod the head yes. Shake it no. And then slowly roll one vertebra at a time all the way up. And I am just popping all over the place. Both hips popped on the way up. Again, dip the chin to chest, bend the knees, slowly roll all the way down. Now, forward folds and kind of rolling up and down always feel really good, but this is one of those spots where my hips can kind of get stuck. Like I said, they both popped on the way up, and sometimes I even have to hold there, let it pop, and then keep rolling all the way up. So know that if you have that kind of pause, that sort of stuck spot, I am right there with you. And I've always been told by physical therapists and physicians that as long as pops don't hurt,
they're okay. It's when they hurt that there might be something deeper. Usually mine just don't hurt, they just feel kind of funky, and I just let it happen, and then afterwards I'm good to go. Last time, roll down and pause. We're gonna stay in that nice big forward fold and hold. Imagine your head's like a little weight for your body, just gently pulling you down, and start to sway the hips a little side to side. Nod the head yes, shake it no. And then slowly roll all the way up to standing. Stand tall, stand straight, take a big breath. Big sigh out. We're going to wake up our hips. I'm going to turn to face you so you can see me a little bit better. But I want you to circle your knees around. So I pick up a knee and I kind of swivel it around. I do this all the time. Often in the morning when my hips are feeling very tight and I'm brushing my teeth, I will stand there, brush my teeth, and move my hips around. It's kind of like I'm lubricating that ball and socket joint, just waking them up. And then opposite direction, out to in, out to in. That can feel really weird, but at the same time, it's nice to get moving in all the different shapes we can take our hips into. And then let's pause for a moment and just again notice, how are we feeling? What feels different in the body? Now, one thing I like to make sure that we're doing is we are activating our thigh-butt connection point, or our thut, if you've taken a lot of classes with me. If I'm not thinking about turning on my glutes and hamstrings, I have a habit of dumping forward. This is not so good on my hips or on my low back. It's not a full tuck of the pelvis. It's not like I'm trying to tip the pelvis up, but instead just a light activation of my thighs, of my glutes, helps to lift me out of my waist. It helps to kind of even out my pelvis so I don't feel like I'm actively arching forward into that Beyonce booty moment, as I say, or like an unnatural tuck in the opposite direction. Take a moment here, full big inhale. One more time, chin to chest, bend the knees, roll into your nice big forward fold again. Just noticing how it feels different from the first set of our forward fold. Once more, push your hips right and left. It might feel really nice to pause and push them over to one side a little deeper. Pause and push them over to the other side a little deeper. And again, hands could be on your thighs if you want to. You could have a chair or a wall nearby if that feels more accessible to your body. You don't have to be down on the floor like I am. And then again, hold for a moment, slowly roll yourself all the way up to standing. Now again, I'm going to face you. You can face whatever direction you want to. We're going to take our hands to our hips or off to the side, whatever helps us balance. And if you need a chair or a wall, that's great too. Start with a little bend in your knees. And now, unlike a yoga kind of chair where we pitch forward, I'm trying to keep my shoulders right over my hips. I still have my belly button pulling in, my shoulders nice and open. All I want us to do is rock our weight over to our left side and pick up our right foot. Now, you can look down at your toe, and I want you to make sure all toes are pointing forward, so our leg is parallel. Toes and knees pointing straight forward. Think about lifting up and out of your waist. It's like I'm holding your left ear, physically pulling it up to the sky. Knit the ribs together a little bit more. Feel the middle of your body holding you up, working hard. And then set the foot on the floor. Same thing other side. Just pick up your opposite foot. Again, foot is parallel, navel is in, ear is lifting high. And if it feels better to take the hands nice and far away, that's great too. Set the foot on the floor, pick up the first leg. Set the foot on the floor, pick up the other leg. We're just kind of waking up our balance a little bit. And I like to remind everyone that balance is very important. It is a lot of core strength, so we're always working our abdominal muscles, our back muscles as we do this. This is great work for our knees, for our hips, for our ankles, all those muscles, all those joints that we want to keep healthy and happy. Now, the next time that we go to pick up our right leg, we're going to keep it there. If we tip over, if you touch your foot to the floor, that's perfectly fine with me. Lift a little higher out of the waist. Pull the navel in just a little bit more. I want you to push your pinky toe away 5 times. Push it away, pull it in. Now, when you're pushing it away and in, make sure your toes are still pointing forward. I don't want you to externally rotate the leg so you can take it up higher. It's not about the height of the leg, it's keeping it parallel. Last one. and set the leg down, pause. You can give your hips a little shake, a little wiggle. That already might be like, wow, what's going on there? And then other side, lift out and away, navel in, fingertips away or hands to the hips, that's perfectly fine. Big inhale, exhale, push the toe away, drop it down. Exhale, push the toe away, drop it down. Push it away and in. Push it away and in. Let's do 3 more. And 2. Last one. Set the foot down, relax, give a shake, give a wiggle, take a wide stance. You can turn your toes out for this one or keep them parallel. Take a great big inhale, reach your hands high. Exhale, flip the palms, tuck the chin to the chest, bend your knees, and roll into a wide leg forward fold. Just like with our legs, even with our hips, it's okay if we're up a little higher or if we have that range of motion to come all the way down. But push your hips right and left. Return to center. I like to take my toes parallel as I roll up. If you want to keep them externally rotated, you are more than welcome to, but stand tall, stand straight, take a breath, and then bring the feet back underneath your hips. Hands to our hips, bend your knees. Again, rock your weight to your left side, picking up your right foot, a little different than before. We are going to work on some movement through that hip. I want you to externally rotate the hip and bring it back to parallel. Now, when we do external rotation or any rotation in the hip, that happens way up here in the ball and socket joint. My knee, my ankle, my toes, they move because the very top of my thigh is rotating in that ball and socket joint there. Now, you might look a little different than me. You might have more or less range of motion. That's perfectly fine. One more time. Open, close. Set the foot on the floor. Opposite side. Lift the foot up, belly button in, chest open, same thing. Rotate open, rotate close. Rotate open, rotate close. Now you can go a little faster or a little slower than I am. It's perfectly fine by me. But I like to move really controlled. I'm always thinking about that there's peanut butter around me or maybe I'm in a pool. So there's kind of resistance as I move the body. I'm not just flapping my leg around. Last time, open, close. Set the foot down, pause. You can shake it out. Now again, over to the left to pick up the right leg. I have very little internal rotation here, so it probably won't look like I'm moving very far. Before we turned our toes away, now I want us to lightly rotate the toes in back to parallel. And again, that's happening way up high in my ball and socket joint. Now it might feel really odd for some of us to try to move in that internal fashion, but I was reminded years ago by a physical therapist that it is important for us to take our hips in all directions. As a former dancer, I continuously worked in external rotation and never did any internal rotation. I feel like that's probably why my hips are as sad as they are today. But that's why I do this kind of work, this kind of movement to really help my body, to help me feel a little bit better. Last time, little rotation in, let it go, shake it out, take a wiggle, move it around. Opposite side, pick up the leg, navel in, chest open, and then we rotate in and release. Rotate in and release. And remember, friends, if you need a wall, a chair nearby, something to hold on to, sometimes I like to give people like one of the tall foam rollers and they can push down into it. There's always ways to give us a little more support if we need it. Last time, in, out, relax. Take your wide stance again. Once more, toes can point forward or away, whatever feels better. A little different though, this time lift the hands up, clasp the hands together, bend your right knee and lean over to the right. Now I really like to drop my head, my chest down so they're parallel to the floor and push my sitting bones back behind me. Take an inhale, both hands lift high. Exhale, clasp the hands and bring them to the left side. Push your hips back. Reach your head forward. Take a full big breath. Big sigh out. Both hands lift nice and high. Flip the palms, tuck the chin to the chest, bend the knees, and roll all the way down. Now again, we can keep our toes parallel, or maybe this time you want to bring them, you can keep them turned out or you can take them parallel. I've got them pointing forward, and my legs are straight, but yours can be bent. Maybe just take a little sway of the hips side to side. Pause, tuck the chin to chest, slowly roll yourself all the way up to standing. Lovely. Go ahead and turn to face forward, or I'm going to turn to face forward, and let's step our right foot back in a nice small lunge. Nothing too big or crazy. Navel in. Squeeze your thigh, lift out of the waist. Almost think about pulling your front heel towards your back toes so we feel that activation through our inner thighs. And then take both hands high. Find a nice big stretch from the side of your hips through your body out your fingers. It's like you're holding on to some monkey bars and just dangling. That's the kind of stretch I want you to feel through your spine. Flip the palms, press them down. And now maybe take your foot a little further back for a deeper lunge. Now, if to make that deeper lunge, you have to arch your back, you hop that toe in so we can have our nice long straight spine. Everybody's a little different. Remember, you don't have to quite look like me. I'm still squeezing my thigh, lifting out of my waist. Both hands lift high. Find that nice, big, deep stretch. And if you wiggle wobble, that's okay. Flip the palms, push them to the sides. See if you can straighten your front leg. Now, not everyone's going to have the range of motion to do that. It's okay, but see if you can sink your back heel to the ground and start to hinge forward. Now, this is as far as you might go, or you might be up a little higher. That's great. No matter where you are, though, the more I think about kind of tipping my left butt cheek, that front leg, I'm trying to send my booty back behind me so I can lengthen and stretch through my hamstring. You might have the range of motion to reach for the floor. You might even want to forward fold. Now remember, not everyone has to look like me. It is a-okay. Take a nice big breath. Big sigh out. Nod the head a little yes, shake it no. Rebend your front knee, push yourself up. Hop both feet together, give a little wiggle. And opposite side, I'm going to take my left foot just a little bit behind me at first, our small little lunge. I'm already focusing on keeping my pelvis even, so I'm not dumping into that Beyonce. I'm pulling the navel in, lifting out of my waist, squeezing my thigh, and then I'm going to take my stretch up high. Reach through your fingertips. And then when you're ready, set the hands down, maybe step your back foot a little further away. Only so far that we can continue to control our abdominal muscles to keep our back as long and straight as we can. Squeeze your thigh, both hands lift high. Reach up to the sky. Maybe bend your front knee a little deeper if it feels nice. As you're ready, straighten the front leg. Take your hands wherever you want to a T, to your hips. Start to hinge forward. Maybe push the heel down. Do you want to stay here? Do you want to already start to tip your little booty back? And maybe we drop into a great big forward fold. You can nod the head yes, shake it no. No hurry, no rush. Not gonna lie, this is feeling really good on this side. If I was not filming, I'd probably stay here a little while longer, but this is about even from the other side. So I'm gonna bend my knee, push myself up. Know that if you find a spot that feels amazing, know you can stay there longer than I do. Let that go. Shake anything out. Take a moment just to check in. How are we feeling through our hips already? What's calling to you? Have you done enough today? That's great. Maybe you need to pause and stop and move on with your day. Maybe you're ready to work a little bit more with me. That's awesome too. We're gonna come down to our mat and find a tabletop position. And as I mentioned, my knees are a little sad today, so I have a blanket. You could grab a blanket for your knees. You could double up your mat. But find your tabletop and pause. Push the floor away. Pull your navel in. Broaden across the chest. Now, I like to imagine there's a hand underneath my tummy, supporting my abdominal muscles, helping to lift up and in. And all I want us to do at first is take our right foot behind us, push the heel back, find a nice big stretch to the back of your calf muscle there. A couple of times I'll rock forward, rock back, rock forward, rock back, once or twice more. And then pause, find your tabletop again, navel in, chest open. Start to squeeze your thigh, float your foot up, and I want you to flex the foot. Now we want to parallel legs, so right now that would mean toes pointing down, heel up to the sky, and we're just going to work on some movement of that hip. externally rotate the leg. So we're going to turn the leg out. Toes are now trying to point from one wall to the other, toes and heel, I mean. And then rotate it back. Externally rotate, bring it back. So I'm really just trying to move again in that ball and socket joint. And it might feel kind of odd to concentrate on such a small and particular area, but let's face it, that's what a lot of Pilates is. Now last time, bring the leg back to parallel, hold navel in, chest open, pull your knee in. Let's sink back to a little child's pose. Let the head fall to the floor. Knees can be together or apart, whatever feels better. Oftentimes, if I have my knees more together, I'm going to feel a little more of a stretch through my back, through my spine. And if I have my knees separated, I usually feel this more through the hips. Both are great. One's not right or wrong. It's really about how you're feeling. Usually if I do one the first time, I'll do the second a little different. Rise back up to your tabletop again. Extend your left foot behind you, tuck the toes, push the heel back. Get that nice big stretch, the back of your calf muscle. And then again, we'll rock a little forward, rock a little back. Rock a little forward, rock a little back. Take it at your own pace. Arrive center, pause, navel in, chest open. Start to squeeze your thigh, lift your foot. And again, we've got our foot flexed so we can concentrate on that parallel or external rotation. Now we're going to turn the leg out, bring it back to parallel. Turn the leg out, bring it back to parallel. A few more times. Notice as you're moving the leg, are you dumping into your low back? Are you arching the back? Are we letting our tummy kind of fall to the floor? I want you to lift the belly button up and in. Can you push the floor away? Can you broaden across the chest? Last time. Set the foot on the floor, pull the knee together, and sink back to your child's pose. Once more, choosing knees together or separated, totally fine. Let yourself melt and let your body relax. Remember, if child's pose feels uncomfortable, we don't have to arrive there. Take one more breath right here. And then come back up to your tabletop. Once more, right foot behind you, float the foot up, and then we're going to find that internal rotation. Just like we did when we were standing, I'm going to try and turn the leg in, bring it to parallel. Turn the leg in, bring it to parallel. And again, it's a very subtle move. And I can let my ankle and my knee kind of twist so it looks like I'm doing a deeper internal rotation. But I'm trying with all my might to exclusively move way up high in that ball and socket joint. Last one, pause, bring the knees together, sink back. Before we do our second side, crawl your hands to the right side of your mat. Maybe think about pushing your hips to the left, separating your rib cage a little more on that left side. And then take your hands to the left side of your mat. Imagine pushing your hips a little more to the right edge of the mat. Finding that space, that length. Come back to center. Rise back upright. You know where we're going, left foot out. Pick up the foot. Squeeze your thigh, broaden across the chest. Try to turn the leg in, back to parallel. Turn it in, back to parallel. You might notice one side has way more or way less range of motion. My left side has a lot more internal rotation than my right, so I'm able to move in what looks like a bigger fashion on this side, but I'm still just moving with my own body's, mobility, my own flexibility. Once or twice more, still pulling the navel in. Pause, bring both knees together or apart, sink back to your child's pose. Once more. Let yourself settle. Again, let's crawl our hands to the right. Push your hips to the left. Crawl your hands to the right. Push your hips to the left. Take your hands back to center. Arrive back up in your tabletop. We're going to come into a little pigeon pose. Even though my knees are a little bit sad, the blanket kind of gets in my way, so I usually move it away for this one, but you can keep it underneath you. This is a small pigeon, not the biggest thing we've ever done. I want you to take your right knee and touch your right wrist. Point your toes to your opposite kneecap, so you've got a little diagonal line there, and then start to push your hips back. Now, oftentimes I like to immediately sit up. I get a bigger, deeper stretch right here. You might need to immediately melt forward. This is more of a really gentle pigeon. You'll see sometimes I take my leg parallel, or the front edge of my shin parallel to the front edge of the mat. It's a little bit deeper, a little more intense. When my hips are feeling a little tight, a little sad in the morning, it's nice to start with them a little bit more shallow. Now maybe you come down to your forearms. Maybe you let your forehead rest on the mat. It's totally up to you. But I find it feels very nice to take a little sway of my hips side to side. I kind of rock them back and forth. And then pause. Rather than coming up the same way we got into it, just lean over to your right butt cheek, swim your leg around, take an easy seat, shoulders back, ears high, take a big inhale. Drop your right hand down to the mat and reach your left hand over to the right side. Press your left hip into the floor and fan open your ribs. Push yourself all the way up. Same thing, other side. Big stretch over. Push yourself all the way up. Return to your tabletop so we can do our pigeon on our second side. Now for this one, I'm going to take my left knee to my left wrist and point my toe to my opposite kneecap, and then I sink back. You might immediately notice one side feels totally different. That's a-okay. You can sit up tall and straight. For me, I'm squeezing my thigh so I can release through the front of my right hip. When and if you feel ready, we can come down to the floor. Head and chest can fall. We can stay lifted, totally our call. Maybe a little sway, a little stretch. Nothing too big or crazy. And then at your own time, lean over towards your left booty. Take your right leg in front of you. Find your easy pose, your easy seat. Ears high, fingertips up. Again, drop the right hand down, big side stretch over. Push yourself upright. Big side stretch over to the opposite side. Push yourself up. Flip the palms, bring them all the way down. Now, let's just do a little seated cat and cow. I want you to reach your chest forward, cave your chest in, just a few times. And then go ahead and pause. We're going to arrive on our back. And if we happen to have a resistance loop or a TheraBand that you've got tied in a knot like I do, I'm going to take it around my shins. If you don't have one, you can 100% do this without. Not a big deal whatsoever. But I have it so there's just a little bit of tension there. The feeling is I almost want to push my knees away. I don't want to actually separate them, but I want to feel a little bit of tension through the band as I push my hips and my low back down into the ground, feeling a nice imprinted spine. Keep that feeling there. Shoulders down, nose high. Inhale, lift the hips up. Find your bridge. Now maybe you're a little higher or lower than me, that's fine. What I want you to concentrate on is wrapping the ribs in, squeezing your thut, keeping your knees, your hips, and your toes tracking all in one line. A lot of times I see my friends either kind of knock their knees together or really let them separate. Hopefully the band is helping to keep them in that right spot. Shoulders down, nose up, take a breath. Exhale, roll all the way down to the ground. Inhale, tip the pelvis, return to the top of your bridge. Exhale, roll all the way down to the ground. 3 more, inhale up. Exhale, right back down. 2 more up. Exhale right back down. Last one. Bring it all the way down and pause. Now from here, let's really imprint our spine. Feel the low back touch the mat. Feel your tummy muscles wrap in. We can take our hands a little bit away from our body if we want to. That can always help encourage our upper body to stay open. And I want us to pick up our legs. Now there can be a bend in your knees. It is perfectly fine if there is, but can you flex your feet? Again, if you've got a bend there, that's okay, but see if you can really flex the feet, pull the navel in, take a big inhale. With or without the band, you're going to pretend like there's a band there. You're just going to push the foot away from each other, bring them back in. Oh! And sometimes that happens. See, now I showed you how you can do it, but I'm going to do it without the band. You're going to push it away, bring it right back in. Push it away, bring it right back in. Ah, the fun things of live classes, right? Yes, so I like to buy lots of really long, I've got like a 40-yard long amount of that stuff, and I will cut them into little pieces and tie them in knots like that for my students. But sometimes they do unravel. That's okay. Last one, push it in and out. Now again, with or without the band on, I don't have mine. I'm pretending that there's a band around. I'm going to keep my legs in the same spot, but I want us to externally rotate. Bring them back to parallel. Externally rotate. Bring it back to parallel. The minute you need to set your legs on the floor to take a pause, you absolutely can. One more time, externally rotate, hold. Think about squeezing your inner thighs towards one another. Once more, if there's a bend in your knees, you're still fine, you're doing great. If we can fully straighten the legs, that's awesome too. Take a big inhale. Can you push your toes away, squeeze your inner thighs back together? Push the toes away, squeeze the inner thighs back together. Let's do 3 more. And 2. Last one. Bring them in, pause. Turn the legs back to parallel, set them on the floor. We can keep the band around our ankles if we still have it, shoulders open. Let's again lift into our bridge and hold. Navel in, squeeze your thigh, push your hips a little higher, take a breath. Roll all the way down to the ground. Inhale, lift the hips, rise to the top of your bridge. Exhale, roll all the way down to the ground. One more time, lift the hips, roll all the way down to the ground, pause. Imprint the spine, open up across the chest. One more time, we're going to take our legs up to the sky with or without your little loop, that's all right. Flex the feet again. Pull the navel in. Push into the band if you have it. If you don't, that's fine. Separate the legs just a teeny tiny amount. They're just a little bit wider than my knees, than my hips. Now from here, I want us to keep our thighs in place. It's like your thighs are being held, and I just want you to bend both knees like you're sitting in a chair, straighten both legs up. If we cannot fully straighten, that's perfectly fine. Just bend and straighten at your own time. But do you see that my thighs really aren't moving? What some of us end up doing are pulling the knees in, kind of pushing out, pulling them in, pushing them out. Instead, I am holding all of this fully and completely still and just hinging from the knees. I bend the knees, I push it up. I bend the knees, I push it up. Last time, bend your knees, pause. This is a big pose for some of us to hold, and if this is as far as we go, that's okay. Navel in, chest open. Again, with or without your lovely little loop around your ankles. I'm going to try and touch my heels to the floor. Exhale, pick the legs back up. Now, your heels do not actually have to touch the floor. If this is as far as we go, in and out, that's awesome. You're still working your abdominal muscles like crazy. If you have the strength and the range of motion to bring the heels all the way down and up without cramping up through the front of your hip flexors, without arching your back, that's awesome, but we're not all at that same spot. You're fine if you're not. Last one, down and up. Set the feet on the floor. Relax. Awkwardly, gracefully, take your band off if it's around your ankles. Reach your fingertips and your toes away from one another. Take a big deep stretch from the tip of your toes through your body, out your hands. And then from here, if we have a yoga strap, we'll unravel and use it. If you don't have one, That's okay, just lift your foot to the sky, or you could use your TheraBand if you've got one. Now I like to plant my opposite foot into the floor so I can feel my back connect to the ground the entire time. Start with a big flex of the foot, heel up, toes pull to face, and start to find some circles, some movement through your lifted right leg. Both directions. And then pause. Really flex the foot a little more. This is not about taking the leg close to your face. Instead, we're just going to find some movement. I'm going to bend your knee, pull your knee into your chest, and then push the foot up. Now, at the moment, I'm concentrating on keeping my leg parallel. So my knee is pulling straight in towards my chest and back out. Now, if we want to, we can externally rotate so my knee kind of reaches more towards the outside edge of my rib cage. It's like it's almost trying to reach to the floor behind me. It's kind of like a half happy baby. Push the leg up, pause. Now this time, again, flex the foot, take a big inhale. As you exhale, see if you can bring the leg a little closer to the body. Now, only take it so close to the body that you're not curling your head and chest up or lifting up the tush. We want to keep our back and our chest falling into the mat. That might be enough of a stretch. If you want to go a little deeper, I like to take my leg back over my hip, bend my knee straight into my chest, keep your thigh still as you unfold the leg, and then send it up. Gather your yoga strap in your left hand, take your right hand to your right hip for a little stretch over. Now you'll notice my hip is still touching the ground. This is not a big torso twist at the moment. This is more about the side of your leg. Bring it back. If you want to, hold the band in your same right leg and you can let the leg fall open to the side. I'm okay if your hips move for this one. You can do what feels best. Eventually bring it right back up and we'll take our left foot in, right foot down to the ground. I like to hold on both sides at first while I take those circles. If you want to hold with one hand, of course, that's fine. Both directions. And then pause, big flex. Start to bend and straighten the leg. We might notice maybe this side really just immediately wants to go to that external rotation. I'm okay with that if you are. Or maybe you want to stay parallel and skip the external rotation. Everybody's a little different. It's perfectly fine not to be totally even from your first side and your second side. Bring it all the way up. Take a big inhale. As you exhale, maybe pull the leg a little closer to your body. It doesn't have to be the biggest, deepest stretch. I could yank that leg a lot closer to my chest, but I'm not super concerned with it. Instead, I'm just focusing on lengthening the leg, like someone is physically pulling my ankle as far away from my body as possible. Again, you can let that go. This time maybe bend the knee into the chest, keep the thigh in place, and see if you can straighten the leg from there. Let it go. Hold your yoga strap in your right hand. Carry your leg to the right. Sometimes I grip my left hip so I know it's not lifting off the floor. It's staying in place. Let it go, and if we want to let our leg fall open to that opposite side, our left side, go for it. If I have my knee bent like this, I usually like to let it fall open to the side as well. You take a little wiggle. And then eventually let's let that go and just move your yoga strap off to the side. Pull both knees into your chest and start to circle your knees around. I kind of swivel them away from one another and then swivel them towards one another. Plant your left foot on the floor, cross your right ankle over your left in your figure four and pause. Notice, did you immediately arch the back? Can we again imprint the spine? Now, a little different, just this first time, you're going to lift up the leg, pause, keep your right leg still, and I want you to try and close the distance between your left heel and your right knee. It's almost like my right knee is magnetized to my little knee right there. Let it go. Pull the heel in towards the knee. Let it go. once or twice more, just like that. Now, if you want to bring the leg a little closer to the body, you can. I usually keep one hand on my right thigh while the other hand goes behind the left thigh. So we can find that nice big stretch. Before we let our figure four go, take your hands out to a T. Take a big inhale, and as you exhale, let your knees and your legs fall to the left side. You might look to your right for a lovely big stretch. Come back to center. Slowly unravel. And then place your left ankle over your right knee. Maybe we stay here. This is a great place just to hang out. If you want to, pick up the legs. And now this time I'm bringing my right heel to my left knee and I let it go. And if you notice, it's more rotation through our hip that helps get us there. Not only do I feel my right hip working to bring the heel towards the knee, I feel a great big stretch through my left inner and outer thigh as I do that. I always like to remind people, if you don't feel a stretch where I say I'm feeling it, it doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. Our bodies are different. We have places where some of us are more or less tight. Last time, let it go. And then again, if we want to pull our legs a little closer to our body, and again, we don't want to pull so much that we have to curl everything up here. Instead, keep your chest, your neck relaxed, your back long, and just use either the muscles in your legs and your arms to kind of guide your shin closer to your chest. Eventually let that go, hands to a T. Allow your feet and body to sink over to the right. We can look to our left side. Big deep breath. Big sigh out. No hurry, no rush. Look forward, unravel. Elongate the legs and the arms away from one another. Take a nice big stretch. And then guide your right leg into your chest. Give it a hug, give it a squeeze. Maybe circle it around right here. And then take a twist to your left. This can be as deep or shallow as you want to. Sometimes it feels really good just to keep the leg bent like this. Sometimes I like to straighten the leg. Slowly unravel. Pull your left knee in, and again, a little hug, little squeeze, some nice easy circles. And then guide the leg over to your opposite side. Look over and away. Big deep breath. Big sigh out. And then slowly unravel. Reach as long as you can from the tip of your toes through your body or your fingers. Roll to your tummy. Press your feet into the floor. Press your pubic bone into the floor. Lightly roll the shoulders back. Lift the heart and chest for a little cobra. Think about pushing the back of my head up. Roll all the way down. If that's enough, stay right there. If you're in the mood to lift a little higher, I am squeezing my thut with all my might. I am pushing the floor away, lifting my ears high. My tummy is working hard. And then slowly roll everything down. Bend your knees, little windshield wiper, side to side. Find a child's pose. Roll yourself up to a seat. As always, my friends, give yourself a pat on the back. Thank yourself for doing something so good and just for you.
I certainly hope you enjoyed class today. I'm always happy to hear suggestions and find out what my friends really want to work on. It's always nice to get suggestions for classes like this so I can make sure I am doing exactly what you need me to do and to help us feel stronger and more confident in our bodies each and every day. So again, I won't call this a true anti-inflammatory class because I like to do a little more research before I call something like that, but this is a very gentle class, one that can help maybe our hips, our low back, and our knees feel a little happier, a little healthier on those mornings or days when we're feeling a little tight, a little stuck. Anyway, let me know in the comments below, did you enjoy class? Do you want to see more like this? Is there something you want to work on next week for our live class? Hope you have a great, wonderful rest of your day. Cannot wait to see you again.